How do you win a fibromyalgia disability case before Social Security disability in 2020? I'm Jonathan Ginsberg, and I'm a Social Security disability attorney. And one of the topics I get more questions and comments about than almost anything else is fibromyalgia. That's a condition that I think affects a lot of people, and there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of concern that Social Security is not approving fibromyalgia cases. And that's not entirely true. Social Security will still approve a fibromyalgia case. They do recognize it is a legitimate and significant impairment. But it is becoming more difficult. It's always been, the last few years, been difficult, but I think in 2020, we sort of hit the point where there's kind of a profile you need to meet to win a fibromyalgia case. And I would tell you that the reason for that, I think, is pretty straightforward, and that is that fibromyalgia is a condition that is diagnosed based on symptoms that you report. There's no generally accepted objective type of test for fibromyalgia. So this can be a condition where you are it's suffering quite a bit. There's no way to take an MRI or a CT to determine that, in fact, you have fibromyalgia and this is what's going on. So what do you need? Well, I think, first of all, you need to have ongoing treatment from a rheumatologist, a specialist. Generally speaking, Social Security judges expect to see records from a rheumatologist. A fibromyalgia diagnosis from your family doctor is not going to be good enough. You need to have it from a rheumatologist, especially one who will address whether or not you fit the category or the definition of fibromyalgia as set forth by the American College of Rheumatologists, which is has very specific requirements. There's a certain number of points that you've got, or a certain number of symptoms you've got to meet, and I think it's something like 17 out of 21 symptoms to meet the definition for fibromyalgia. I think that you need to have ongoing treatment. You cannot have gaps in treatment. More than any other condition, gaps in a treatment record for fibromyalgia, it's really a problem. I think especially in 2020, you're going to need to have records of ongoing treatment. I think it helps to meet the profile, and I've discussed this in the past. A typical fibromyalgia patient is female, age 45 plus, type A personality, someone with a long, fairly sophisticated work history who's just kind of worn out. It's almost like a form of emotional or mental shock that a person has worked really hard for years and years and just hits the point where the body says, enough, I can't take this anymore. Male fibromyalgia cases, a real uphill battle. I don't think I've ever won one. So typically you need to be female to win fibromyalgia. Not to say you couldn't win as a male, but I've never won one. I think it's much more difficult. Judges don't expect to see it. A lot more difficult to win. I think that if I have something in my file other than fibromyalgia, such as a herniated disc or irritable bowel syndrome, I'm going to use that as the number one argument, fibromyalgia being second. Not because I don't believe my client's got problems with fibromyalgia, but I think if you have something that's more objectively determinable, that's going to be a stronger argument. So if you have something else, in my view, that should be first, even though in your mind fibromyalgia may be your biggest problem. I think that, if you've got something else that can be more objectively evaluated, it would be probably better to use that as your main issue. When I'm doing my direct examination or I'm filling out the forms, I focus on those elements of fibromyalgia that would most likely impact my client's capacity for work. For example, I have a lot of clients with digestive issues, whether it's irritable bowel or chronic diarrhea or constipation. Those are things that judges recognize this can really affect your ability to work. So I would focus on those things. If someone has severe headaches, which is also something I see fairly regularly, you can focus on that, because especially if you've gone to a doctor, you're receiving medication for headaches, that will interfere with attention, concentration, focus, being reliable in a work environment. Memory and concentration, the fibrofog. Again, a psychologist can evaluate that, and that can be something that can be in addition to fibromyalgia, but it sort of falls into a different category of more mental health type of thing. And if you've got a treatment record from a psychologist and an evaluation from a psychologist, that can go a long way to making your case stronger, gives the judge yet another reason to approve you. I think the sensitivity to touch, the myofascial pain, that can be relevant because, again, almost any job, there's going to be a certain level of contact with the skin. So again, I think that's something that can be focused on. I tend to get less reaction from a judge when my client's talking about fatigue because, again, it's very subjective. And again, you can talk about it, but I wouldn't make it the main focus. The generalized body soreness and weakness, that's also kind of vague, and you need to, in my view, be more specific. My joints, my knee joints, my ankle, my elbow, as opposed to it's all over my body. I think you want to be more specific if you can, and people a lot of times talk about flu-like symptoms. Again, perfectly relevant to talk about it, but I would make that secondary to things like irritable bowel or memory and concentration, because flu-like symptoms, how do you translate that into a work limitation? More difficult to do so. So that's how I approach fibro cases in 2020. Again, if I've got a good record with a rheumatologist, other specialists, and I've got testimony about things that directly impact work capacity, then I'm winning those cases, especially if I have a judge who recognizes it. And I also instruct my clients to talk about how frustrating it is not to be able to work and how they would much rather be working if they possibly could. You want to go with the right attitude as well, as opposed to I've given up, I've got fibromyalgia, I know I can't work anymore. You go with the attitude, I'm fighting this every step of the way. That, at least for me, is how I'm winning fibromyalgia cases in 2020, and that's what I'll continue to do ongoing. Hope you found this helpful. Visit my website at ssdanswers.com for a free How to Win Social Security Disability Survival Kit or for a free case evaluation. If I can answer any questions, leave me a comment. Give me a thumbs up in the video if you thought it was helpful. And again, if I can be of assistance to you, please reach out to me. This is Jonathan Ginsberg, wishing you the best. Thanks a lot. Hi, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to know more about how to win your Social Security disability case, I'd like to invite you to download my Secrets to Getting Approved Early Survival Kit that I created just for people like you. Currently, I'm making the survival kit available at no cost, and I encourage you to grab your copy now. Some of the topics I cover include: how do I know if I have a case? Is it the right time for me to file my claim? 9 common mistakes that can doom your case. The 3 must-have arguments you use to win your case. And a topic that every disability claimant wants to know: how to avoid trick questions from the judge. If you or a loved one need to win Social Security disability benefits, you'll find the Survival Kit essential reading. Download your Survival Kit right now and at no cost. Just visit ssdanswers.com/survival and sign up. It's that easy. Please act now. And as always, I wish you the best.